This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Rock Roberge, our honored patron and Switch Knight. Hey everybody, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Nintendo Switch wizards out there. And you gotta switch it up.
Nice. I like it.
We're flipping the script again. We have another special episode. Actually, it's going to be a trifecta of special episodes this month. We did the buying guide last week. And this week we have a special guest on to join the show and talk all about a game that he has been involved in producing that kind of invigorated a lot of interest in the community the last couple of days since we mentioned it, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Without any involvement with us, we didn't even have to push this game towards our community. Everyone just picked it up and started getting into it really quickly.
Yes. And our guest is Mel Kirk. He is the VP of Publishing at Zen Studios, who are the publishers of Pinball FX3, which is on the Nintendo Switch. Why don't you say hello, Mel?
Hey guys, great to be here. Thank you for having me. Excited to hear that your community is gravitating towards the game and hopefully enjoying themselves.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to make a note right off the bat. Like I said, even before we announced that you're going to be on the show, someone in the community already kicked off a tournament. If anyone's interested, there is a tournament going on right now. There's about 18 or 17 days left for you to try to get the high score on the Sorcerer's Lair table. That's a free table you could download for the game if you want to get it from the eShop. He's actually put up a $50 prize. Now, keep in mind, this is not ours. This is not an official SwitchCast tournament, but it is being run by someone from the community, and so you can go bother at Dark Santa in the Discord chat if you want to get some other details. But the tournament's up. If you go in the menu, select tournaments, you'll find one called the SwitchCast. The current high score is 800 million by the Casual Cleric. So that is the score. You have 17 days to beat if you want to win that prize, or anyone else who beats it.
That's an absolutely impressive score, because I was barely able to break 150 million earlier, and it's going to be difficult beating that 800 million score. But I implore all of you guys to try it out. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah. I'm assuming, Mel, that you have been involved in pinball communities for quite a while now. This is not your first pinball title period, right?
Yeah, you are correct. I have been a part of pinball communities in games now for a decade. We just celebrated 10 years of Pinball FX. We launched way back in the day, 2007, on Xbox Live Arcade. And ever since then, have been growing pinball communities and bringing people into the pinball, fold, if you will. I'm
very interested to, when we switch gears into the interview, I definitely want to learn about this whole pinball community that I'm dipping my feet in, because it has been following and talking about this game this last week. So it's a community that I've never had to deal with. But then again, the Switch has been bringing me into all sorts of communities. It started with fighting games. And now we're getting into pinball. This is crazy.
Yeah, man, you just got to be careful. Pinheads can be a little crazy.
Oh, yeah? It's
a tense community. Very passionate, I can imagine.
Awesome. JV, I think I told you about this, but I wanted to tell the community I actually did cave on something that I said that I wasn't going to do, but I think everyone's pretty happy that I caved.
What is it?
I went out and I bought Xenoblade Chronicles 2. After saying specifically I was going to stay away from it, because since you're already covering it for the site, and we didn't both need to play it, I just could not keep away from it.
But you just couldn't resist. As I played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I just had a feeling it was a game that you would like and pick up eventually. I didn't expect it to be literally the next week, but you picked it up.
It was just gnawing at me. But buying it did lead to a kind of a little annoying situation, though.
Okay.
You all know how when you go to GameStop, they always try to sell you the little hey, would you like to pay $3 for insurance or whatever on the game or whatever you buy? And that's fine. That's my limit. I'll accept it if you ask me and I just say no. Don't harass me too much. But they crossed the line this week. GameStop crossed the line. They put that insurance on my bill first. And they then, after I saw the price total, they were like, oh, and that $3 charge on there, right before I swiped my card, mind you, they're like, that $3 charge, that's for the insurance that protects your game forever, whatever number of years. And I'm like, I didn't ask for that. Please take that off. In fact, please put the game back. That was a line for me. I actually left right then.
Ooh, that's a little bit sketchy, because I bet they're able to catch a couple people with those. Especially people who are unsuspecting and not really GameStop regular shoppers.
Yeah, most people might just like swipe and go on, all right, whatever, it's already on there. I don't want to like speak up, maybe there's a lot of people who don't feel comfortable like speaking up about that stuff, and that's $3. They're kind of there. So I'm kind of off GameStop now. I've moved, and I took your advice, JV. I got the Best Buy Gamers Club membership. And
there you go.
Totally
I wish I was being paid a commission from them, but it's a really good service, to be honest.
Totally. I paid for $30. I got $12 off Xenoblade Chronicles, and I have 2 more years to make the rest of that money back. So I think it's a solid, reliable investment, and they did not try to add insurance. In fact, the only thing they added, or they asked, is if I wanted to also buy the DLC for the game, and I was like, I'll see. I will buy that probably in the weeks to come, but right now, I'm good with this core game.
All right. I'm glad to have you in the fold.
Yes, we'll talk more about that in the game reviews. And the last piece of meta, I just want to announce, it's the last couple of days you guys have. I'm going to close the polls soon for the SwitchCast Choice Awards. If you guys want to vote for your games of the year, things have been shifting in the last couple of days. People have been, I can't say what games what, but the tides for certain positions in the awards have been shifting drastically over the last week since this. So I think people are, I don't know, the last wave of people had very different opinions on what should be winning, and so it's
I actually really love the buzz between our own personal choice awards. I feel like people are really speculating quite a bit, and there's a lot of discussion fired up within our Discord community.
Yeah. All right, so without further ado, that's everything on the docket for the meta. Let's go into our interview segment, and let's talk some Pinball FX3.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome to the Sorcerer's Lair.
All right, everybody, here we are for our interview segment. Again, here's Mel Kirk, and I want to kick this off first off. Why don't you please just tell us a little bit about yourself and what kind of a gamer and what kind of a experience have you had in the game development industry? Cool.
Yeah, I'm actually just celebrating my 13th year in the game industry, and
wow,
it has been a blur. I mean, I just really can't believe that. I got super lucky right out of college, and I knew I wanted to work in games. I mean, I was a hardcore gamer growing up. My first system was a Nintendo and the original NES, and from there Super Nintendo, and then PlayStation came on, and I had a Sega Genesis, and I had pretty much everything. And at that time in my life, when I was going to school, I graduated high school class of 2000 and graduated university 2004. Games were sort of starting to change, and your parents still told you that there's no way you can work in video games and be successful. You're going to throw your life away, and you're going to be.
I've had that discussion with them in the past. That's happened. I've lived that too.
I think it's still there, but it has changed, because I think now working in the game industry is the number one desired job if you can get in.
Exactly.
And parents definitely see the potential, and they know people are making money. But I got in really lucky at a really good time, and I was on the marketing, PR, and business development side when I first started, and I was working with Red Octane and Harmonix, and we worked on, I got to play a really big pivotal role in Guitar Hero.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was a very formative game in my youth, so very, very cool job.
Yeah.
What did you get to do for Guitar Hero?
Well, everything from sell the game into retail to help figure out what the guitar was going to look like and how it was going to fit in a box and what price we should put it at and how we're going to market it.
Real strategy. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the logistics, it seems. A lot of the stuff that's very difficult for people to really fathom.
Yeah, or like, hey, all of a sudden we have way more orders than we can even imagine. What are we going to do? Well, we need to charter 747s from China, fly them into San Jose Airport, go get 18-wheelers, pick them up from the airport, bring it to our little warehouse, go pick up guys from like Lowe's to come pack them into boxes. I mean, it was totally homegrown. You want to talk about like indie that blew up overnight? This was indie, and it definitely became very, very big very quickly.
Yeah, I could imagine. That's quite an undertaking. No, I definitely know. I guess Zen Studios is a bit of an offshoot from that. What was the first game that you were really heavily involved in when it comes to Zen Studios?
So Zen, I got really involved in the early pinball days, Pinball FX. The studio was previously work for hire. We were just taking on projects for other publishers and doing ports. And then digital really started to take on and become a viable option for a developer who wanted to create their own game and publish it and really just take control of your own destiny. And so that's when I got involved with Zen Studios. And the company had been around for a couple of years before I got there. I think that we were 6 or 8 guys at that time. We're pushing 80 or so. But
wow.
That Pinball FX was really the first game, and that kind of went into. Of course, we make other games as well, but that's really what I think we're most known for.
Most known for, yeah. I remember. I even remember Flipper Critters back in the Nintendo DS.
Yes.
I used to play that quite a bit, and I didn't even realize that was you guys until I looked up your studio.
Yeah, that was us, and that was a great game. Certainly a stepping stone to what you're playing today in our pinball game, but that was a lot of fun.
Oh, you want to name any of the other titles that your Zen has worked on before?
Yeah, probably our second best known game would be Castle Storm, and it's kind of a real-time strategy tower defense style game.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that was back in the day. I remember that game for sure. I guess that one isn't quite pinball. But what did you guys do to decide to spin off into the tower defense genre?
Well, we have multiple teams at the studio. At that time, we had 2 teams. We had the pinball team, and then we had the other team. And the other team, we just said, hey, guys, we're totally capable. You guys have all made games now. What do you want to do? And be creative. And we have great game designers. And they came up with Castle Storm, and it did really, really well for us, actually. I think people would be surprised at how well it did. But it lives across almost every platform. That's got a VR version of it now, and we're not done with it yet. So,
yeah. It's just healthy sometimes, though, for a studio just to flex their muscles in different ways and branch your brain out in new directions, and you might pick up a few lessons in developing different games here and there. So that's always good. I see companies trying to find new frontiers to move into.
Absolutely. And you gotta, we have some guys who have been on pinball now for a decade, and some of them are still, that's all they want to do. And you tell them, hey, do you want to do something else? And they say, no way, man. I mean, like, this is their passion, and they love it.
Okay.
Especially, the brands we bring in and the IPs, they get to work on their childhood favorite stuff, so that's really cool. But some guys then want to go do something else too, and we want to make sure that we're making other types of projects.
All right, so why don't you just tell us then, what is Pinball FX3 for those who might not have picked it up, and just tell us a little bit about the game itself here.
Sure. Pinball FX3, the best way I can describe it to you is it is a pinball universe, and we have all sorts of different pinball tables, and they're based on all different kinds of brands. And this time around, we've really focused on the interactions between players and helping establish more of a multiplayer style community. Before, pinball had been really a very solitary experience, just you and the game, and you're trying to get a high score, and you might be 52,342 on a leaderboard. But what does that mean, and why is that exciting? It's really not. But we've tried to come this time around and really create a fabric that is pulling players together, and you level up. So every time you're playing a game, you're getting XP for various actions and all. We got tournaments that are going on all the time. We have feature tournaments with hosts, and we have multiplayer matchups and league play on a weekly basis. So there's just like a billion reasons now to pick up a pinball table and play it, just not in a single player format anymore, but challenges, all sorts of cool stuff. So if you have any interest whatsoever in pinball, it's a free download, and we give you a free table to check out Sorcerer's Lair, which is a great idea of what we can do and high quality and all that stuff. And it's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, now, it's definitely a lot of fun from my own personal experience, though I do have to ask. Zen Studios is really well known for their pinball stuff. Why pinball? What about pinball gravitated you and your team to make a video game version of that?
Yeah, it's a good question and sort of a long story, but I will give you the cliff notes.
Cool.
Yeah, it wasn't my idea, so I can't take the credit for all this. But Zen's founder, a guy named Zsolt Kagoshi, cool Hungarian dude. He grew up playing pinball. He was a pinball nut and, grew up with machines and was very mechanical and liked to work on them and tinker with them and started buying them and collecting. So it was just something he loved to do. And then when he started Zen Studios, he always had this thought in his mind that someday he would make a digital pinball game. And so when Zen decided, hey, it's time for us to make our own games and go for it ourselves, there was no doubt in his mind what it was the company was going to work on. And so from day one, started working on video game pinball and really just poured a lot of experience and knowledge about the game itself, and found some really good guys in Budapest where the studio is located. And yeah, they built Pinball FX, and took everyone by surprise when it launched on Xbox Live Arcade back in 2007. And here we are 10 years later, still doing this, so that's kind of the short version of the long story.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember listening to podcasts back in 2008 or so, and I keep hearing about people talking about a pinball game, a Zen pinball game, and I thought, why would anyone really want to play that on a video game when you can just go to an arcade and pick it up there? But everything that you guys do with the special effects and the sound effects, it really does make the experience quite a bit more spectacular than you'd expect.
Yeah, and the way that I kind of phrase it is that we're taking a theme or a brand, whatever it is we're working with, and our job is to like immortalize that in this pinball game. Take what's great about it, all the best characters, the best moments, whatever's cool about that, and invigorate it into a pinball game. We just happen to have a ball and flippers, and you're trying to get a score. And I can't really say what would be better than that because we've got to work with so many cool things and properties and characters. So we seem to not really run out of runway here. We thought we'd hit a saturation point, but man, we put new games out and like a day later, well, what's next? What are you guys working on next?
Yeah. You mentioned though the different tables and the licenses. That seems to be a very big draw of it. Not just you have a lot of your own original themes on these tables, like the Sorcerer's Lair. There's the Hercules one, but there's a lot of I saw a Back to the Future one. You have an E.T. one. You have all sorts of licenses. And there's just how many tables are you up to total now on that app?
Okay. Yeah. So on Switch right now, we have 30
Mm-hmm.
in total in the entire FX collection. If you're able to complete it, I believe we're at 70 now.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Throughout all the iterations on all the consoles.
Yeah. And there are a few that we've had to leave behind in previous generations because they were built on old technology or for whatever reason, the license renewal didn't work out, all the business challenges there. But right now, yeah, there's actually 70 active games.
Now, that actually is a really good question about bringing things over. What attracted you guys to the Switch as a platform for Pinball FX?
Well, as soon as we got the Switch and we got the dev kits and we saw what Nintendo was doing, it was just so clear to us that this was a masterpiece and that...
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we are big Nintendo fans. I think we had the most content on Wii U out of any developer or publisher. You can actually check that. We had all of our pinball games. We had Castle Storm. We had Kickbeat. We had any game that we launched during that generation made it to a Wii U. And so Nintendo being a Japanese company, they remember those kind of things. They remember loyalty and they really value that. So we got Switch hardware really early for a studio of our size and our stature. And, we knew that this was going to be special because of HD Rumble and the type of screen that was there. We can play in vertical orientation. And so Pinball on the Go is always something that we've had a challenge with because phones and iPads don't really give you that tactile feedback. But here was a device designed for that. And so we were really excited just day one and started working on it. Tried to catch up with our Pinball FX3 dev cycle. Obviously, you guys know the game came out on other platforms before Switch. But it was really amazing that we were able to get it done as quickly as we did with the feature set that we have on the Switch.
Honestly, I really do feel like the Nintendo Switch is the perfect platform for your games because pinball is really one of those platforms or genres where you would want to pick it up and play it on the go sometimes.
Yeah, that's where I felt like for me, I like these games that are maybe a little more leaning towards the mobile side of the system. I mean, I did play it back at home too, but I really felt like when I get on the train and I'm just like, you know what? I don't feel like, a long, 30-minute experience. Maybe I feel like playing a couple balls here and there, and the different modes actually too. I saw you had you added some interesting modes like the challenges where you had to like keep beating your score every couple of minutes and stuff like that. Those are pretty tense, tightly timed challenges that fit very well into like a short time frame.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were going for with Pinball FX3. The team wanted to give people ultimate replay value on your tables and let you just enjoy them in many different ways, because we found even for ourselves that just playing a table over and over for just a high score, eventually you're going to do something that, is probably the best you're ever going to get. And then what reason do you have to come back to it? So I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the things that, we thought hard about and that we really wanted to do to make the game fun for everybody for a long time.
Yeah, and I definitely want to stress just how cool it is to play this game on the vertical screen of the Nintendo Switch. I think
right. I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, no, it feels really good. The verticality of it just fits the dimension of a pinball table just perfectly, I think.
Yeah, it really does. And again, as someone who's played pinball games now for a very long time, I get excited when the game feels brand new again, because at times, sure, working on the same thing for so long can get to feel old or great. How much longer are we going to do this? But, every once in a while, like once every 3 or 4 years, something really, really cool happens. And we're in that moment right now.
Yes. And it's really great to hear that the Switch was able to inspire that with you guys.
You know what little feature of the game actually made me realize, though, how much these guys really are passionate about the pinball and the tables they make? Just when you load up a table, when the camera kind of pans around and like it gives you this little like scan of the whole table and it focuses in on all the little details. Like here's a little corner, and you could just sit and kind of appreciate the table and all these little details that you might not notice when you're playing it. You might not notice, there's these little bumpers in the back there, or this little character who's like hidden away over there. And I'm like, all those little details they put in every little corner, and you get to see it when the camera is just kind of giving you a little aerial view of it. That sold me right away. Like these guys really like love everything that they've put into here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And also we love these, like working on Back to the Future and working on Jaws or working on Star Wars, whatever it is that we have, we have guys that literally, when we announce, hey, we're going to do this table, who wants to do it? And like the hands go up, and those are the ones, I mean, like these guys, I hate to say this, they probably work on it for free. I mean, this is how much they love these things, especially like, I don't know. So it's cool. There's no shortage of passion. It definitely shines through. I'm glad you see it.
Yeah, it definitely shines through. And honestly, I would work for the Star Wars pinball for free.
Well, let's use it as a jumping off point then, and let's kind of talk about a little bit more the nitty gritty of how are the tables actually designed, or what can you tell us about, like, once they start with, like, do you start with the license, or do you start with an idea for the actual layout? I mean, where does it start, and how do they develop a table from there?
Sure. When we have decided that we're doing Back to the Future pinball, for example, what we'll do first and foremost is we need to get the entire table condensed into one page. And we need to know which characters are 3D models. We need to know what are the playfield toys. We need to know what are the main game modes. And we need to know, kind of in a larger sense, what type of game logic we need for this to run in the metagame. So we define all of that up front, and we need to work with our licensor, in this case it would be Universal, to make sure that they agree on this stuff, because if we get too far down the road and we realize, hey, we're missing Doc, that's really bad. And we also this stuff is expensive, especially working with brands, and it takes a lot of time. So we just try to get really simple and granular and make sure that we have all the big beats. And then after that, we flesh out a table. Pinball table design is probably a 30-page design doc, which is actually a lot more than people might think you would need. But it's that detailed, and there's a lot to it. The rule sets are very deep.
I know when looking at the licensed ones, I was really wondering what elements you guys had to include compared to others. Like, whenever you have a license, are there specific elements of that franchise that you have a list of required usage?
Yeah, there definitely is. And there's also a list of things we can't do. So, for example, just think about any, big popular brand who has films coming out on a regular basis or characters dying or new ones being introduced, for them, they have these like 10-year visions of where they're taking a franchise, and we just happen to be a pinball game, and so what can we actually use from it? So sometimes we have some boundaries, and other times, it's a movie that's been out for a long time and everyone knows what's great about it and everyone knows why it's awesome, and it's our job to deliver, more of that awesome. So it's kind of different every time.
Is there kind of a difficulty or a challenge balance that you divvy up between different tables? Are there like ones that this is like an expert table that maybe, and it fits a certain theme to like, be more challenging? And do you have ones that are maybe a little more, here's a good one for the beginners. It's still fun, but it might be a good learning one. Do you ever balance that out on them?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to answer this. And a lot of times it depends on our designers. For example, like Deep, he goes by Deep. His name is Peter. He just did Son of Zeus, and he was also on the Back to the Future table. And to me, those feel like really rewarding and generous scores. But there's an element of difficulty to really reach like the end game on those. And so I feel like sometimes, depending on who the designer is, he will allow some of the best moments to be seen without a lot of challenge. But if you really want to master and discover like the pinball secrets, you got to be really good. And then if we're releasing a pack of tables, we usually want to make sure that one of them is fairly, when I say casual, it's almost the wrong word. It's more kind of like inviting, or you feel good. You get a good flow. The ramp structure is just really easy and it feels fun. Whereas other tables might be more challenging, and the slingshots, pull the ball faster, so it comes down and it drains a lot quicker. So we try to get a good varying degree of difficulty and variety with the table pack.
Now, it's definitely interesting that you describe different pinball tables having an end game. I know within the game itself, there are a lot of different mini games or alternate tables that you can trigger that would not be possible in a real pinball machine. How many times do you guys take into consideration what is real and possible on an actual pinball table compared to what you can stretch in the digital platform?
Well, we're always going to have a ball and flippers, so those things will never change. But to us, everything else is up for grabs. And if it fits with the theme and it makes sense, sure, we're a video game. Like, we're going to do it. We're going to flip the table upside down for the Infinity Gauntlet, and that stuff is awesome. Pinball purists will tell us we're evil and we're ruining the game and we don't know what we're doing. But, man, we are a video game, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, take advantage of the platform. I think it's a great way to make your experience unique, as well as really elevating what pinball can do.
Yeah, we have such a wide variety of players. We have guys who grew up playing mechanical machines, and they can't anymore because they can't find them, and you don't have space for it. But, really, we've introduced a whole new generation of people to pinball, and it's kind of starting again here with Nintendo Switch, because I know we have a lot of brand new people in our community who never played the game, never thought they would want to play it. But, we've done enough to it, I think, where it feels really fresh, and pinball has been around for longer than I've been alive, and it's bigger right now than it's ever has been. So that's really saying something.
It's come a long way from being an outlawed game in America for a while.
Yeah, well, it used to be gambling, they outlawed it, and
it's just crazy to think that there were like policemen who would raid stores to trash or like confiscate pinball tables in like secret back rooms of bars and stuff. That's just like insane to think about, that there was a time that's what was going on, and now you could just download it at your house and bring pinball everywhere you want. So it's almost like you're making a political statement for freedom by downloading pinball.
Is it now, Casey?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, you want to know something really funny? I'm here in California, and down in San Francisco, it was up until just a year ago, it was actually still against the law to have for-profit pinball machines. They had to go to city council and lobby and get them to change the law. And the guy who spearheaded the effort is the guy who runs the Pacific Pinball Museum in Sausalito. Yeah, they had to meet with the San Francisco City Council. They made a big presentation. It's online. You can actually watch the meeting. And then City Council adjourned for a minute, talked there with themselves, and then proudly said, "You know what? It's time that pinball can be played for profit in the city of San Francisco." It was pretty fun.
That's incredible.
It's a political movement.
All right, Casey, I concede to your point. Does that ever interfere with you guys' release capabilities? I think most of your games are primarily digital, but have you ever had to worry about laws of where your games are being released?
No, we have not. But we are starting to test the waters with like esports, quote unquote esport, whatever that means these days, and a few other things as well. And it is classified as a game of skill. And I do see a future for pinball in different places that we see it now, in a little different model. So, we may be encountering some of that resistance at some point.
I was curious to ask though, is the physics engine of the pinball game, have you been using basically the same physics for the entire series of these games, or do you like modify them for certain tables? Like, is the ball maybe like jumpier in certain games, or have you had to adjust that, or have you been able to rely on the same core physics for most of the games?
So platform-wise, the physics are always the same. And what I mean is we've been developing our pinball games in our own custom engine now for the last decade, and the physics do change with the generation of technology we build in by platform. So FX3 does have a little bit different physics than FX2, but across FX3, the physics are the same for every table. They may feel different just based on the pitch of ramps or pitch of the table itself or what's going on around the game, but the actual physics and the physics engine are identical for everything.
Now, you actually bring up a really good point about engines. You've been working with Nintendo platforms almost since the beginning, and I was really curious what the process was like to bring something like Pinball FX3 over to the Nintendo Switch. Was it particularly difficult or pretty simple?
It was a lot easier than it would have been on Wii U, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually not bad at all. A few challenges, but look, every brand new platform, every time you do something on new hardware, there's going to be challenges, especially with our own engine, but we've seen it all at this point, and there was really, I would have to say, this was very easy compared to other rodeos. So that's all I can say about it. Yeah.
I remember hearing about the Wii U being particularly difficult to bring things over too. So the fact that you guys really released so much content for that platform is a testament to your porting capabilities.
Yeah, we look at pinball. Our ethos is pinball everywhere. We want our content to be played wherever gamers are. And pinball is just a very universal concept, and everyone sees it, knows what it is. So we want it everywhere. And Wii U was challenging, but I'm glad that we did it. But I'm also really glad that right now, finally, for the first time on a Nintendo platform, we can bring Pinball FX experience to Nintendo players the same way that it's been on other consoles and on PC. So you actually have an leg up because you can bring this game with you and you can play it in a way in a vertical screen without too much hassle.
No, I imagine just bringing this game over to a coffee shop and just enjoying my time there. It's pretty good.
Do you ever feel like if there was just one thing that you wish everybody knew about pinball or your pinball game specifically that would get them to play it, what would it be? Like,
if they otherwise would ignore a pinball game in the eShop,
right,
what would attract them to Pinball FX?
Man, that's such a good question. I have two answers.
Okay.
We'll take them both.
Go for
it. The first one is that don't dismiss pinball because of the way it looks and thinking that it's simple. People just look at it and they're like, what do you get out of hitting a ball with some flippers? It's really not a simple game. It's actually quite strategic, and you can get good at it. And it's, so that's one thing, is it's not just a simple, like, waste your time thing. And number two is that we don't copy tables. It's not the same board with just a skin on it. All that artwork is originally produced. Every table, every 3D model, every animation is done from the ground up. We do not copy anything. So many people think, oh, it's just another board. They just put a new piece of artwork on it. I mean, that's just not the case. So those two things, it's just always been a challenge. And even with gaming journalists, it's a challenge to get that message across and to players at times. So those are the two things I'd love for people to understand.
Now, even with the free table that you released, I believe it is Sorcerer's Lair. While I was playing it myself, I was actually quite surprised at how many little layers and mini games you could trigger in that. Even with Whisper, I I was really wanting Whisper to show up a lot more, but yeah, the way you integrate a bit of a story into each table, it's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that has evolved over time. For Sorcerer's Lair, Whisper is your friend, your friendly ghost, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but we really started telling stories. Marvel actually helped us a lot with this. And when we did Marvel Pinball, and then we went into Avengers Chronicles, and they said, guys, why don't you guys tell more stories? Set up a table with like some cinematics and make things a little more, feel like a gaming experience. And I got to give Marvel a lot of credit because they took time to just help us understand that and really step into that. Now we have like RPG style gameplay, with like the Bethesda packs and with Epic Quest, which is our own original IP, with Max the Knight. You level up your character and you get loot and you fight monsters. So there's pinball, but then there's all the other stuff that's going on the table.
Right, especially even with, I believe it's the Zeus one.
Yes.
I was actually quite surprised as I proceeded with the game. You could see Hercules and I believe it's Medusa just taunting each other continuously,
and the Hydra.
Things pop up like Cerberuses and Hydras and volcanoes.
It's surprising to say that it's like true to the source material as much as a pinball game could be. That there's these challenges of
the trials.
It creates a story of Hercules and these fights, and it does capture a plot. And the fact that he even said that there's a spoiler for the other game about Whisper.
Can you imagine spoilers for a pinball machine? That's pretty cool.
That's the one thing I try to get people to understand whenever I talk about like a favorite pinball game. Like, no, like there's actually like a story. There's an end game. There's a completion sort of to them.
But even with speaking about Nintendo as a platform, pinball's been with Nintendo for a while now. If you guys remember, Pokemon Pinball was huge when that originally came out. That was a thing, and people got pretty popular. It did.
Also, Kirby Dream Land Pinball. They have Metroid, Metroid, and I mean, there have been pinball games with a Nintendo IP in them.
Right, and I feel like that's it's part of the lifeblood of the original games. So I'm glad that it's coming back to the Switch. It's good.
Yeah. Do you want to go into the community questions now, JV, or is there anything else that you want to ask them before we shift over?
Yeah, sure. Let's go into community questions. We have quite a bit of questions to provide.
Yeah, I filtered down to some of because a lot of them were very similar. In fact, I'll just kick off the community questions here with the one question that pretty much everybody asked at some point. Are there any tables that you could tell us about that are lined up for the future? Anything specifically people are asking about any Switch exclusive or maybe even Nintendo themed ones? If there's anything you could tell us about future tables.
Okay, so this is a three-part answer. One, content that is available for Pinball FX3 on other platforms, not yet for Switch. I have good news. Some of those tables will be coming soon. I can't tell you exactly right now which ones, but everyone just needs to understand the Switch is a brand new platform. It's hot. All the business guys are like, what do we do with this? How do we handle it? And sometimes it just takes a little longer to get rights to new platforms, but we are working hard to make it happen. And I know that's been a lot of questions asked from the community. So
that's definitely a reassuring.
Yes,
reassuring for sure. That was one of the big questions.
Yeah. So sit tight on that. We're doing, believe me, I want Star Wars Pinball, Marvel Pinball, Bethesda on Switch. Believe me, for many reasons. One, everyone wants to buy it. And two, I know you all want to play it, be able to play in the community events with everybody else. So we hear it, want to make it happen. Number two would be new content. What I can tell you is that any new tables that Zen is working on for next year and beyond will be coming to Switch simultaneously with other platforms. So that's really good news.
Cool.
Okay. So any new deals that we're doing, like Switch is included in that, and it's not like, this. So it's great. For all new stuff, it's really good. For older stuff, it's been the challenge. And then as far as Nintendo related tables go, we would do that in a heartbeat. We've talked to Nintendo about it. There's been interest. I think, I don't know what'll happen in the future, but if it's possible, we will definitely do it.
That's a really good comment. I'm sure a lot of people are reassured that it's at least in consideration. Though I do want to ask, generally, how long does it take for a table to start from a concept to a finished product that you can release? Is there a timeline that you see those usually take?
It's different every time, especially if it's licensed versus our own original stuff.
Right.
Licensed is going to take probably twice as long just because of approvals and all that. But we start like day one. We start with the initial spec, that one-page overview I was telling you about.
Right.
We'll wrap up production roughly 9 months later, and then there's kind of a 3 or 4 month testing and getting ready for publishing and all that. So it's about a year for a table. And of course, we release them in 2s and 3s and 4s. So we'll be working on many tables simultaneously.
Is there any just personal dream licenses or dream ideas for a table that you have that, you know, like what's the one thing that you would just love to make if everything just fell into place for you?
Right. You might not be promising this to actually come to existence.
Disclaimer, he is not claiming this is going to come out, but just something that if anyone would give you their license and just would work with you on it, what would be like the one dream or some original idea that maybe in the back of your head that you've been, you know, would wish to make someday?
So this actually, my dream came true a few times already, but one in particular was Portal. I really wanted to do Portal. The pinball mechanic works so perfectly.
That is such a perfect fit.
Yeah, so we did it. It's on Switch, and to me that was a dream come true. So pinball dreams do come true.
Okay.
Dreams do come true.
But right now I would really love to do Stranger Things or Rick and Morty. Those are in, you know, I think that those are at the top of my list.
The Rick and Morty one, that is genius. I would play that in a heartbeat. I think it would actually be really fitting considering he has a portal gun.
Yep.
And, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that makes sense. I mean, it's not hard to imagine what Rick and Morty pinball would look like. And with Stranger Things, God, you could do like the Great Upside Down. I don't know if you guys watched the show, and again, I don't want to talk too much about it.
No spoilers, but
yeah, I mean, it would just work really well. The music, the nostalgia thing fits like classic pinball really well.
Oh yeah, era-wise, yeah.
It would be awesome.
Nice.
Okay. All right. You're getting me hyped for something that doesn't exist yet. I could just imagine like Rick and Morty's voices just.
If enough people talk about it and tell everybody that they want us to do it, it might happen.
Okay, guys, let's rally for this. Stranger Things.
That's really what we do now. We just listen to what our fans and our players tell us. They say that they want this. That's what we go after.
All right. I think it's a good movement. Let's do it.
How has it been implementing HD Rumble into the game? Like, what is the process and how do you kind of choreograph the feel? Is that a tricky process at all?
A little bit. And, you know, I think we're going to fine tune a little bit. Sometimes when I'm playing, I feel like we have a little too much going. And so I don't know. We're going to keep playing with it. And we may, like I said, tune it a little bit. But it's button mapping and it's some lines of code to basically you connect the HD Rumble to different things on the table, to different parameters, different checkpoints on the game itself through the game logic. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you like the way it feels? Is it too much?
No, I know it's actually really good for me. I think it feels pretty natural.
I've had to turn off Rumble only because, so I haven't actually experienced it too much myself because when I'm playing it at home, because I'm playing in handheld mode, the sounds of the vibrations seem to distract people I'm next to. So so I've had to play with it off because I'm in places where other people kind of are annoyed by the sound of the Rumble, but I do plan on trying it at home and getting a more feel for it myself.
Okay, and you took off one of the Joy-Cons, or are you playing with both Joy-Cons attached?
I'm playing with both Joy-Cons attached.
Okay, and you know, actually, I would recommend you take off one of the Joy-Cons, and I think it is balanced much better. We actually delayed the game so we could implement the one Joy-Con attached vertical play.
Oh, okay, all right. I will give that a shot.
Yep.
Nice. Pro tip, guys, from the devs themselves.
One other question that a few people asked is if there's ever the possibility for people to basically transfer tables from the Wii U version that they've bought in the past over to the Switch version, or do you have any plans of any kind of transference?
Yeah, and I totally get where this question's coming from because we've done this now for a couple generations of FX on other platforms. We tried to find a way to do this from the Wii U to Switch. The back end of Nintendo is set up differently than other platforms. User accounts are different. Entitlements are different. We weren't able to do it. If things change, we will do it. Look, it's not hard to see that this is our precedent. And so I honestly feel, being such a Nintendo fan myself, I feel bad that we can't offer this to people right now. So, for now it's a no. We'll see what happens in the future.
Oh, but okay. I'm surprised here though that you actually took this extra step in the past and were able to, when possible, you were able.
Over.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, on Steam or PlayStation or Xbox, if you had purchased tables even all the way back to FX1, we've allowed you to bring those same purchases all the way with you now to FX3. No cost, nothing.
Right. I can definitely see that the infrastructure difference between the Switch and the Wii U is so drastic that it might not be feasible to do that. I mean, Nintendo doesn't even do that with their own digital games, so it might be a bit tricky. Now, I think that's mostly it for our community questions, though I do have to ask one final question for you, Mel. If you could choose one table out of all the Pinball FX games you've made, which one would you say is your favorite?
Okay, my favorite still, even after all this time, is a game called Excalibur. And you can get that in the medieval pack. It's with packaged with Epic Quest. It's just, so I'm all about themes. I'm about things that were happening when I was growing up, and my, brings back good memories and that nostalgic feeling. And Sir Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table, Camelot, like all that was just, I was a huge high fantasy nerd and all that, like back in growing up. And so we did that game, and it's just been my personal favorite for that reason. I love the artwork. I love the colors and the voices. That's my favorite table.
Oh, that's awesome. Nice that you have a definitive one.
It is hard though, because they're all like my children in some way or form.
It's hard to decide sometimes.
Actually, there was one other thing I forgot to ask this earlier, but I was curious as to how you decided on the sales model of the games, as like, selling it basically as this free application and then having a free table or two and then selling like individual ones. Is that just the best way to make sense, as opposed to maybe just selling each table as a separate game on the eShop?
Yeah, well, first of all, we wanted a pinball platform or universe, and where all your pinball tables could live, and then we wanted to create this fabric that hopefully connected all of them together, right? So that it's meaningful to own more than one table. And then due to the way that licenses work, we cannot sell all tables for one price, because that's what we would call cross-collateralization. And you don't know how to allocate like X amount of dollars to a brand, because some brands might say, oh, I'm worth more, or the only reason why anyone's buying this is because of my brand. So we have to modularize it. And it's actually worked really well. When we introduced this with FX2, we were the first free download on console with in-app purchasing. And man, it's been working for 7 years in that regard. And people just seem really happy because you're not forced into anything. You can buy what you want. We felt like the free table was just the ultimate demo. Sure, you can just play this as long as you want. And if you like it, go ahead and spend money on something. And I just recommend people, hey, if you're into something and we have that brand, or you just like the original stuff, you can just buy what you want. And personally, that's the way I like to buy games.
Yeah, definitely. It actually reminds me of the old Space Cadet games that were packaged into computers. You remember those?
Of course.
I used to play that one over and over quite a bit. And then after I played that one out for a while, I wanted more. And having pinball as a platform really lets people do that. Really lets them pick what they want and keep going.
All right. I think that's pretty much the end of our questions. Is there anything else that you would like to plug other than your game? Is there a community or a website that you'd like to direct our listeners' attention to, or a personal project that you do?
If you want to follow Zen Studios, we're quite busy. We actually have 4 internal teams now working on projects simultaneously. So while we make pinball, we're making other games as well. You can follow us at our blog, zenstudios.com. That's Zen blog. That's home base. We're on Twitter as well, Zen_Studios, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you can find us. We love community feedback. That's what's actually kept our pinball game going for 10 years, is just listening to what you guys all want and putting it in there, and we will not stop doing that. And or you can follow me if I'm interesting as well. Mel_G Kirk on Twitter. The Mel G Kirk. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on. It was a great speaking with you today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, so it's time for the game time. And actually, I think it's a perfect time for us actually just to kind of give our own personal reviews of Pinball FX3.
I was actually quite impressed with the presentation of this game, and it's really great value on the Switch, I think.
So we've played 3 different tables at this point. We've played, was it Sorcerer's Lair? We mentioned that's like the first one. There was Son of Zeus, which was the Hercules story. And what was the third one?
Adventureland.
Oh, right, it's the amusement park themed one.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely want to start off by saying that overall, you can't really complain. It's pinball. It's pinball in its peak form, essentially. And if you like the fundamental gameplay of pinball, you're going to like this one.
I do like the I love the presentation of it. I love the just it feels very mechanical, some of the stages. Like I like how they take advantage of the medium, and there's more than just the literal mechanisms. And there's lots of them, though, like things that move around, lots of little tracks for the ball to fly around on. But then there's a lot of these like animated figures, like actual 3D characters on the stages who might act as either a hero or the boss that you're trying to defeat, and they react to what you're doing with cool battle scenes, almost like when Hercules is wrestling.
Especially in the Son of Zeus one. I remember triggering the scene where Hercules is actually fighting with the Hydra itself, and you're actually trying to hit the targets in order to help Hercules fight the Hydra, and I found that incredibly fascinating.
I like how he refers to you like you're actually a character. Come here, stranger, take out the Hydra for me while I'm fighting it, and good job, stranger. And he refers to you, and it makes you feel like you're an actual character.
You're actually part of it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I liked Son of Zeus quite a bit. It did feel like a bit of a smaller table compared to the others, but I liked it thematically, and I loved the banter between the characters.
Yes. The other one was, I found the amusement park one just busier than my taste. I mean,
yeah, I was actually going to bring that up as a criticism. It was very colorful, and while there was a lot going on, it was a little bit difficult to figure out where anything was. I couldn't tell as easily where my ball was and where I really wanted to focus my attention. It was still fun. I liked how it felt, and I liked the layout of all the lanes that you can throw your ball into. But
there's a lot of lanes in that one. Yeah, there's a lot
of lanes. And it's hard to discern which one I want to target at any specific time.
I feel that they chose well for the one that will be free for everybody. The Sorcerer's Lair. It's a perfect medium. It was pretty sprawling. It's a long one. It has hidden areas, and it feels like a real pinball table with just a few extra things, but it was good depth. It had a cool theme. As you mentioned before, there was that Whisper character that you try to get to help you out.
Freaking Whisper, she never showed up for me. I keep hitting it, and it's like, oh, Whisper's not here. Oh, for real? And no, Whisper's not here.
Right, you have to get her in there, and if she's there and you get the ball in there, then she kind of saves you from
bonus points. And
well, she also like cuts off one of the what do they call those? Like the gutters that your ball can go down the side. She blocks those off. I'm sure there's a real name that the actual pinball fanatics that are listening to this episode are like waving their fist and cursing me for not knowing right now.
Right, and so I was playing the game, and there is a progression system in this. So as you progress, you do level up different skills that either increase how many points you get from bumpers or increase how many points you get from certain other targets. You can even get bonus points based on how much distance your ball gets. And all that stuff is pretty cool. At first, I was kind of turned off because it wasn't really a pure pinball experience at that point. But it is an optional mode, and I felt like it really did add replayability over time.
It does give you a sense of overall progression. It is cool to, even if it is just a mental trick to make you feel like you've unlocked something special. Whereas generally, pinball shouldn't necessarily have external factors that affect your score. You shouldn't have to necessarily level up before you can reach a certain high score. But I think it works in this case in that you mentioned it's not something that's effective on every mode, and the fact that it wasn't a huge focus on the game. I don't think it was like such a huge determinant of how well you did.
Right, and I do mostly plan on, if I'm playing multiplayer leaderboards, I'm mostly going to focus on the modes that don't allow for those extra additional features, but I do enjoy that they're there as a way to really incentivize you to play multiple times.
I think the biggest thing was, as he mentioned though, the community aspect, the tournaments, the ways that you could play with other people. That brings it into the interesting realm for me. Like we have right now this very long running tournament, which is what's going to inspire people to take that table very seriously. And there's, even if you're not playing live against another player, it makes you want to unlock its secrets, understand it, take it apart, figure out the real strategy to beating it to and getting those high scores that you might not have pushed yourself to do otherwise.
And even in the standard single player mode, there is a built-in leaderboard for each table, so you can see other people's performance based on what their scores are in single player. You don't need a tournament to be able to get on that leaderboard. It's even fun while you're playing the pinball game itself. In the middle of the game, while you're scoring points, there's a pop-up on the right side that indicates, oh, you're approaching so-and-so's score. Oh, you're approaching so-and-so's score. Oh, you just beat so-and-so.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
that's good. That's very good.
It notifies
motivation.
You. Yeah, whenever you start climbing and start beating people's score, it notifies you each time, and it's really a motivating factor to get you to improve. And these are all little tweaks that really enhance the overall pinball experience that you can't really get outside of a digital platform.
I think the pricing, though, is at a pretty sweet spot where even when you want to expand and maybe you've had enough of the free table, you want to actually start paying for some stuff, the tables seem to go for about $3 each. There's give or take a couple of dollars. There's some bundles that put a few together for like, $15-20. So there's a lot of options. I mean, with all those tables there. And I think at that price, it's pretty easy just to, shell out for one or three more just to add to your collection and variety.
Yeah. And, the progression system and the leaderboard system built into it really does add inherent replayability to those tables, so I feel like the value of the cost is really worth it. As soon as I get out of this podcast, I think I'm going to pick a Portal.
I think that's a good idea to get the same one as your friends, so you can make sure that you're competing on the same tables, because that is part of the experience, and there's so many of them that I think you could find stuff that multiple people will like. And I think that's the trick, is to get the same one and share the experience with people and maybe trade a few secrets. Like, oh, no. Like, go for this first. It's the best way to lead into multi-ball or something like that. Okay, so we've definitely talked enough about pinball for one episode. So let's move into something very different. We both played a few simple little games actually this week that might be interesting. You picked up something called Polybridge, and this is a game I've heard nothing about before.
Polybridge is actually really simple, and it's been out on other platforms, but it's finally out on the Switch. I definitely don't want to delve too deep into it because there's really not that much about it. Polybridge is an engineering puzzle game where you use geometric joints to build a bridge strong enough for a car or some sort of vehicle to pass from one side to another.
Oh, so it's kind of like that bridge builder, like they announced the.
It is exactly Bridge Builder, really.
Okay,
it's Polybridge, so it's its own genre. These bridge building games are its own genre, and Polybridge is essentially a pared down, really simple, straightforward version of that. And I actually do love games like these because they're so simple, but they're also really engaging.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I believe Polybridge has about 100 levels, though honestly I can get lost in the sandbox mode that they provide you.
Sandbox mode?
Yeah, you just get two ledges and space to build bridges, and you can play with the physics however you want, and it's just a ton of fun.
You have unlimited materials?
Yeah, there's even a lot of really cool engineering tools. Like you get swings and ramps and pistons. It's just so you can use all of that to engineer a bridge that could jettison cars from one side to the other, or swing them around. It's a really fun sandbox mode, and even just the individual puzzle levels are a lot of fun to figure out for me.
So, like, what are some, like, the challenges, though, that it gives you? Like, how does one, like, when I think of this genre, all I think of is, here's two ledges, connect them. What are, like, some of the unique puzzles that you have to overcome?
Well, sometimes there are a bunch of obstacles that go beneath, that hinder you from just making a easy line. For example, there could be, let's say, a boat that's going across the river that if you make a just straight line between the two ledges, it would just break. So what you have to do is essentially make maybe a piston or a ramp that would elevates the bridge to let you go across.
Okay.
But if there's any hurdles with that, you might need to build a full-fledged ramp for the automobiles to jump from. If the automobiles don't move fast enough to get enough leverage, you might need to build a drawbridge, essentially. And, those types of puzzles are what you have to figure out.
Okay.
And it does get fantastical with the physics of the cars or the automobiles, because some cars can get flung and land perfectly safe on the other side when in real life that car would just crash.
Okay.
But it's overall it's fun. It allows you to swap from a 3D view to a flat 2D grid view, so you can have more easily snapping joints. And really, it's essentially just one of those old K-Nex toys or magnetics. It's just a toy with puzzles that you can figure out. It's fun.
So how do you think it compares in the genre? Is it more accessible? Is it just like all the others, a little harder?
It's pretty accessible just because of how streamlined it is. And it is one of the first on the Switch. So, if not the first. So, if you really want this genre on the Nintendo Switch, this is a good way to go.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Polybridge.
And for $15, I think it's not a bad pickup.
Okay. That sounds cool. Another genre that I haven't seen too much of in the pure form. I know we've talked about a lot of games being roguelikes in that they're endless, kind of randomly designed. But One More Dungeon, which I've been playing, is probably the closest thing to an actual dungeon crawling roguelike that I've seen yet on the Switch here.
Okay.
In that it takes place in actual dungeons, and you have to get keys, there's treasure chests, there's random spawn monsters, and all that jazz, but it does do its own little special twist on the genre in that it is a first-person roguelike. And, yeah.
Interesting.
So you have a little sword, you have a little magic wand, and, you go, and your only mission is go and see how far you can get, how many levels into the dungeon can you reach. No story, and you can kind of hack things in the melee. The melee really does not feel like it's a real. It's more of a last resort option in this game, because you're really going to be trying to use your wand to blow things up from a distance. But they take the wand that you have, and you'll find other wands as you go. They use up this resource you have. There's 3 different colored crystals, and different wands, might use 1 or 2 of different colors of crystals, and so they're really important to collect those things as you're going through. The only problem is you do run out of those crystals. Like, you might...
Right. Eventually it seems like it's going to be quite limited.
It does, and it's kind of frustrating because by the nature of the game, since it's a roguelike, let's say you have a rod that uses red crystals to deal damage. If you never find a blue rod, you'll never use those crystals, and you're going to run out of the red ones pretty quickly. And there's a little rock, paper, scissors thing where some enemies are weak to, red, green, or blue, so you're going to want them all, but maybe you never find one, and it doesn't really mesh well with the roguelike, nature of the game. Full disclosure though, I've never been a huge fan of the roguelikes, but I have reviewed plenty of them in my time. And
you have quite a bit.
Yes.
I think we both have at this point.
Yes. I feel like it's just a genre that there's a lot of different takes on them. Honestly, this one falls into the category though of I feel this is a game that could have been a good dungeon crawler, but rather than design dungeons, they just kind of threw in this random dungeon generator that I think this might have been better off not as a roguelike. I think it could have been better off as a actual...
Just as a standard?
As a designed game, yeah. I didn't really enjoy the randomness of it. Like, I don't like tunnels that are just dead ends. Like, there's like 10 doors in a room, and if like 5 of them lead to just literal dead ends, all you did is randomly waste my time. You know, it doesn't mean anything. The monsters are a little hard to deal with in that it's very easy if you just aren't paying attention for a second. If a monster's attacking you from behind and you don't notice it right away, you can die very quickly. And that's just not something I feel like in a roguelike where, you know, you just have one moment of lapse that something just takes you down and just could end your entire run. You know, normally in a roguelike, they have that whole movement system where every space you step is one step for the enemy, so you can always stop, think about what's the best way. Should I fight? Should I run? In this, it's always kind of boils down to the same tactic. Run backwards, shoot, hopefully take cover in an alleyway and take them out one at a time. There's never really a time where I feel like there's a cool strategy to beating an enemy or it's always very straightforward. It's always the same thing. I don't really use too many of the items. That's what I liked in some roguelikes where you're always grabbing cool new weapons or one-time use bombs or something like that. There is one cool thing in this where every so often you'll find these dimensional portals and they'll take you to a place where you can find some powerful items that use up a different resource called sanity, and they're pretty cool, but there was one time where I teleported into this place and they randomly decided to put me between 2 feral demon tigers that killed me before I could even turn to see them.
A death like that within a roguelike seems like it wouldn't be particularly satisfying.
It's not, and like I said, I don't like putting in that much time if I know that I can just get a bad roll and just be killed because of something like that, or be in a situation where I ran out of crystals and I never found the right weapon for this situation. The one cool thing it adds is there's these mutations. They're basically like optional rules you can add to the game, and you can unlock them as you play the game, and you could say like, I want all enemies to have half hit points, or I want to start with a potion extra, or maybe I just want vision to be, weird or something like that, or like fog. All these sorts of options. So if you want to mix up the gameplay, that's an option. But honestly, I felt it was very shallow. I did not feel like playing this that much, and I did not feel like, I just wasn't into it, honestly. I feel like it didn't really have much interesting combat, and I never really got a sense of progression, even on some of my better runs.
Right. Okay. So, ultimately, is this something that you would recommend to people for the price?
No, nah. If you are a roguelike fan, like if it is a genre you really like and you're gonna play this a lot and you don't care about dying or you don't care about beating a game, that's fine. You might like this. But honestly, even as far as roguelikes go, I was not too much of a fan of One More Dungeon.
Okay. I do want to commend it for its art style. I think it's actually a pretty cool play on the typical Minecraft pixely style that we see.
Yeah.
But if the fundamental gameplay is not necessarily ideal, then might not be worth picking up.
Yeah, I thought it could use some more enemy types too. I thought that would be interesting, but every time you start it up, you fight snails and rats, and I would like a few more surprises in store, especially when it's random. It's like throw a weird looking dragon here or there.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, you actually got your hands on something just recently that actually looked pretty cool. Oh,
absolutely. And I'm actually, I gotta say, I'm actually pretty stoked about it. I definitely want to talk about it a bit more in depth in the future, but I will say I've been playing some Brawl Out.
Nice. So this is the what was the platform brawler? What do they call them?
Platform brawler. Maybe it's a platforming fighting platform game. The game itself is, there's so many names for that genre.
Smash
I don't
Brothers
know what's
type.
official. Smash clone. It's a Smash clone. But their official website calls it a party fighting game.
Okay, that's good. I like that word.
So if you see Super Smash Brothers to be a party fighting game, then that's what this is. I'm going to go into further depth in a future episode, but I do want to say that if you are someone who really wants to scratch that Super Smash Brothers itch, then this might be something to consider.
And it has all the indies characters, right?
It has at least one.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm going to go in further depth on this in a future episode.
But I thought that was its gimmick, that it uses like characters from indie games.
No, that's a different one.
No? Oh, okay.
The only other indie game that it has is Hyperlight.
Okay.
There was another one that's even more indie, like, spread out.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so we'll just tease that for everyone. And
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's go to the news rundown and wrap things up for this week here.
All right, let's do it.
All right, news rundown, and here are your headlines.
Here are your headlines. Ah, how official.
Yes.
To start us off, I definitely want to start off with a really good news. Apparently, a new Zelda is in development.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone expected this anyway, but it's just nice we got confirmation in a art book, actually, of all places, that was recently released with a bunch of works from the Breath of the Wild games on Switch and Wii U. And in it, they just, had a quote mentioning that they've already have people hard at work making it. We don't know if it's going to be in the same genre. I think that's a strong way for it to go, but people have already started discussing whether it'll be open world 3D like this or try something else different.
I feel like they might go the Wind Waker route for this.
Yeah.
Maybe a drastic shift in art style, yet still kind of 3D. Who knows? But it's definitely exciting nonetheless.
Yep. Also exciting, sales figures have shown that the Switch is all set to overtake the lifetime sales of the Wii U in under its first year. So I feel like some people think that we're ragging on the Wii U when we say these things. It's not ragging on Wii U as much as we're just proud of the Switch.
Right, exactly. It's such a good time for Nintendo fans right now. I'm so glad that the Switch is doing as well as it is. Just to remind the world, Nintendo's in this.
Yes.
Nintendo's a game and console development that should be taken seriously.
Yes. And obviously, the transition music for the news section this week is coming directly from this update Nintendo released for the Project OCTOPATH Travelers soundtrack. Apparently, they just finished working on it, and they gave this video with samplings of the music, and it's nice. It's epic. It's a little more leaning towards the orchestrated route than, let's say, Xenoblade has been. Xenoblade's a little more, I don't know if I say poppy, but it's a little more, maybe a little more modern music.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I like the soundtrack, and I think it's gonna really add a good tone to the game.
It feels classic. It feels like a classic, Final Fantasy VI type soundtrack.
Which is what they're going for. It's, I think it seems really fitting for what they're trying to go for in Octopath.
Yes. Have you tried out the new video capture feature for Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle?
I no, I haven't, but it's really nice to see that video capture is being supported in more games. I am waiting for the day when video capture is going to be built in to each new Nintendo Switch release.
Yes.
That's going to be great.
We've been getting a lot of people who've been posting their favorite victories on our Twitter page, and do feel free, if you guys want to take a good video of something cool that happened in your game, share it with us and we'll be happy to retweet your, some guy kept sending us videos of him beating his wife in multiplayer.
Anyway, we spoke about the Best Buy Gamers Club previously. Best Buy is actually getting an exclusive Mario Kart Steelbook that comes with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's actually really cool. I think it's nice that retailers are providing bonus items with a purchase, and it doesn't add to the price of the game. which is great.
It's good. It's interesting that this is coming out for Mario Kart 8, so if there's a new generation of players who are probably just getting the Switch for Christmas, this is definitely an interesting version to buy. Obviously, the game is the same, but the little steel case book, which is just a pretty cool little collector's item, I think would be.
I feel like, I feel like these types of mini promotions are really good to bring the game back into the headlines, just to make sure that people who haven't picked it up don't forget that it exists.
If you're the kind of person who has maybe having a harder time finding people to compete with online, Christmas Day and henceforth, you'll probably have a big surge of all your favorite games finding multiplayer.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of special edition stuff, apparently the UK Switch owners are able to pre-order Bayonetta now, and there is even a special edition of the game.
Yeah, it comes with a few cool extras. The main one is this poster that is coming with it, a big Bayonetta poster, and these little cards. They look, I never played the games. Is something that she uses in the game, these like magic cards looking thing?
Not really, but they are thematic to the aesthetic of the games.
Okay. It kind of looks like bookmark-sized things, and it kind of looks like the same case that they were selling with the Mario Kart we just talked about there. Oh, it's a steelbook. Yeah, it's another steelbook, so.
It's steelbook.
I've never seen these before. So are these like things that just wrap around like your box of the game or something?
No, you have a steelbook and you open it and it holds the cartridge inside of it. And the original artwork is essentially like a sleeve that wraps around the steelbook.
Interesting.
So it's essentially an alternate case for your Switch.
Ah, very cool.
Like it doesn't come in the plastic; it comes in the steelbook instead.
It's like a display piece.
Yes, exactly.
All right, awesome. And I'm sure, and this is the Bayonetta 1 and 2 collection, and they're going to follow the Resident Evil model with that apparently, where Bayonetta 2 will be on the cartridge, and it will come with a code for you to download Bayonetta 1. So once again, be sure to ask for a memory card for your Christmas gift.
Yeah, I feel like it's really becoming more prevalent and more important to get an SD card for your Switch with all these digital games coming out.
And the updates, we got a new ARMS 5.0 teaser, and they showed off a little trailer, not showing his face, but we got to see the new character that's going to be coming this year, so only another week or two for that to happen. So another new character is coming into the game.
Yeah, they're really pumping out the characters here, which I'm quite impressed with.
Have you checked out
I'm glad they're really
Have you checked out this video?
Supporting it. No.
Okay, he's pretty cool. This guy looks more sinister than the others. I mean, we've had Clown Girl and Robot Guys and Jolly Muscle Man. This guy looks sinister. Like he's always has like a very chuckly kind of like evil presence. He has this green hair. It looks like he has like an electric coil theme going, and he's floating in all the scenes. Like he just floats, it looks like. Very Magneto-ish.
Yeah, the trailer definitely shows like a manic, sort of crazed type of character. And I like that. I like that they're really diverging and being diverse with the themes of the characters they're releasing.
Yep. I think people were a little, looking for something a little darker, serious in some of these guys here.
Yeah. Looks good to me.
Yeah, I like him.
Now, speaking of which, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is coming out with an update on the 22nd. So tomorrow, when this episode releases.
Yep.
With this update, apparently they're adding an easy mode to Tiger, which is great for some people out there.
I haven't had a hard time with it yet, so I wonder.
No, I haven't either, but some people are,
okay.
And it's understandable. Apparently, when you press the X button, the skip travel screen will immediately open to the map of your current location, which is such a benefit. I think every single time I press the X button, it's such a pain to remember what region you're at and to figure out which map you need to be looking at. I think that's such a good benefit.
Yeah. They also added another zoom level, a 1-to-1 zoom level for the mini map, making it a little easier to navigate. Always a big deal. I have been experiencing those problems people mentioned about finding your way around stages. And I think that's the verticality of things. It's really hard to display the verticality you have to traverse in these landscapes on a 2D map. And I think that's what they have to find a way around.
Yeah, I think, it's a natural, problem for this type of game. I know they tried to display elevation based on how gray or how white a platform is on the minimap. It's something that you have to really get used to. It's a topographical issue, I think.
Yeah. But I am interested. They keep mentioning the New Game Plus basic mode that's going to be coming out next year, and that's going to be part of a free update in the future. I'm totally going to hit that up, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah.
WWE 2K18 got an update. They didn't release any patch notes for it, but it sounds like it's mostly some bug fixes and performance updates, since a lot of people were complaining about it chugging and some of the character models were not appearing in sync or on the same consistency as other characters. So hopefully this will be the fix everyone's looking at, but like I said, there's no notes, so we can't tell exactly. We hope some people will report to us how it's been for their existence.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Now, Zen Studios is also releasing or at least working on a patch to improve the graphics of Pinball FX3 on the Switch. Apparently, they're trying to bring 1080p to the docked and 60 frames per second to handheld modes. So, overall improvements to the performance of the game. I haven't had too many struggles, but I can see that people might complain about the frame rate for this type of game.
Especially, because like handheld, like I said, is where it's at, especially if you're doing that, vertical switch mode. So that's where that's going to be. So improving the performance there would probably be nice, and I wouldn't mind seeing how beautiful those things are in 1080p on the docked mode. It really the stages are just immaculately done. It's one of the biggest selling points of this game.
Exactly.
All right, down the pipe, we got a little bit of a hint. It's not confirmation, but in an interview with Kotaku, Square Enix's Akitoshi Kawazu, who is the director for the Saga games, he mentioned that he would like to bring over some more of the Saga series. He's quoted that we plan on continuing to release titles overseas in the future. Hope to look forward in anticipation. He just mentioned how hard it was for people to get their hands on the Saga games in the past. It was just too much to localize before. Maybe it's kind of a niche game. The Saga games are even more.
Absolutely,
they're so hardcore. Yeah, they're very hardcore, and but I think they've been performing well. Like I said, they came out on iOS. They brought it now to the Switch. So it must be catching on enough that they're considering maybe bringing more of the series. So, I guess that's a good thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Stickbold is announced for coming out this month. Stickbold, a Dodgeball Adventure Deluxe, is shown off for this month. This looks like a multiplayer dodgeball game almost, with like people whacking balls at each other in different arena type environments. It looks like it actually kind of reminds me of Overcooked. Yeah.
Well, not gameplay wise, but perspective and control wise. I think it's in that same vein.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I can see that. Yeah. We also got The Escapist 2, which will be coming out next month. We hear World Neverland, Elna Kingdom is coming out next year. It kind of reminds me of Fantasy Life. It kind of looks like that game that came out for 3DS.
Yeah, you're right. Oh man, I can definitely see.
Yeah, it has that same feel, and it came out on mobile actually. So this is going to be another mobile game adaptation. But I hadn't heard of it before, so I'll take a look at that. We got Dragon Quest Builders coming February 9th.
For sure, that's essentially Minecraft, but with the Dragon Quest license,
and a little bit of a story mixed into it too, depending on how you do it. It's
totally
pretty surprising how they pulled that off. Titan Quest, which was the game we saw leaked first on the GameFly website, that is confirmed to be coming out March 2018. Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 Plus. Just add as many suffixes as you can, guys.
This is coming out. I was actually a really big fan of Pac-Man Championship Edition. It just felt like it took the graphic style of something like Geometry Wars and integrated it with the Pac-Man gameplay, and I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm glad to see it on the Switch.
Adventure Time, Pirates of the Enchiridion is coming out spring of 2018. Oh, this one's all you.
So apparently My Hero Academia, One's Justice, is coming out for the Switch. Oh man, I love this franchise. I love this series, and I'm so glad that Bandai Namco is bringing stuff over to the Switch. So yes,
you're a big fan of the anime,
excited.
yes?
I am. I honestly think if you ever have the time, you should watch it. Casey.
I know
it's 24 episodes. So I think
what's the general premise, just so people get an idea of what it's still going to be about?
The general premise is that you are a character in a world where heroes are prevalent. Everyone has a quirk that gives them superpowers, except you're Deku, who doesn't have superpowers, and you have to live with that. And then you go, and I don't want to spoil anything else other than that, but it's a world of superheroes, and lots of justice and fighting are involved. It's great.
All right, very cool, very cool. This game looked cool that some people showed me. Fallen Legion. Fallen Legion. This is coming out in 2018. So this kind of looks like almost a mix of like a tactical side-scrolling brawler with like tactical elements. It has the look of a game I loved on Vita, actually called Grand Kingdom, but I have been corrected that it is nothing like that except in maybe the aesthetics, but the aesthetics alone was really great in that game, so it is a selling point. Anyway, it's coming out sometime in 2018, so we'll have a while to catch up on its details.
And this one really surprised me. Apparently there are rumors that Burnout Paradise got rated for the Switch in Brazil. Burnout Paradise is an open world Burnout game, and I loved this game so much when it came out on the PS3.
And that's a basic like racing game. Does it have like a special twist?
It's not really a racing game. It's a crashing game. You're in a car and you want to make the most spectacular crashes possible.
Interesting.
And I guess there's racing involved sometimes, but the crashes are really where it's about.
And we got the next batch of Neo Geo titles shown off to us, so we can look forward to, in the near future, King of Monsters, which is a fun little brawler game with kaiju. I love those in the arcades.
Oh yeah.
Art of Fighting 2, Power Spikes 2, World Heroes 2, Samurai Showdown 2, and 2020 Baseball. And the only game in here without like a 2 in it is The King of Fighters 96.
2020.
But yeah, titles to look forward to, pretty fun. They always good stream of those.
Oh yeah.
New releases. Why don't you kick us off with what's coming out today?
Okay, so today on December 21st, the next Penelope is coming out. Tiny Metal, which I'm interested in checking out. Mom Hid My Game. Blossom Tales, The Sleeping King.
That looks cool. That looks like a really it looks like a old school Zelda on steroids. Like it looks very much like the Super Nintendo Zelda with like this female protagonist, but like really intense stages with a lot of it's a lot faster paced.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's something that might be surprising to pick up. Puzzle Box Maker, Tiny Troopers Joint Ops XL. Frederick, Resurrection of Music, The Dear God, Of Mice and Sand Revised, The Coma Recut, and Guns, and Max, The Curse of Brotherhood.
And coming out tomorrow, December 22nd, Heart and Slash and Tactical Mind, followed by, on December 23rd, Bloody Zombies. December 25th, we have Sparkle Unleashed, and December 28th, SteamWorld Heist.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of these games, actually.
And, we'll do our System Switch picks just to close out this thing. Each of us picks a title from another platform that we would like to see make the Switch. And my pick this week, actually, only because I did download, because I know it's coming to Switch in the near future, Arena of Glory. If you want to get a peek of what that's like, you can download that right now on your
Valor.
Oh yes, Arena of Valor. You could download that right now on your iPhone and check it out. And it's solid. It's a great MOBA. I don't feel I'm clicking with the theme of the characters. I'm not as much into the licenses they've got on board for this. And I've said that Vainglory was my first MOBA, and so it's kind of impressioning on me. So I'm just going to say for this week, Vainglory, the mobile MOBA, is something that I would love to see make the transfer to Switch. It fits I love the characters, I like the theme, and I like the gameplay. And like I said, it was my first MOBA, and it had a great community that I got into.
So it's a MOBA?
It's a MOBA, yes.
All right. So I definitely want the Metal Gear Solid franchise to come to the Switch.
Yeah.
Now, this might seem like a really weird, offbeat choice, but I do have to say, Metal Gear Solid 3 did come out on the 3DS, so it is not impossible for any of the Metal Gear Solid games to come out. I'm fine with Metal Gear 1, Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Possibly a collection, yeah.
Yeah, there have been lots of Metal Gear collections in the past, and I would love to see one on the Switch.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be a great fit, a great way to relive those stories and maybe catch up on the convoluted plot.
Very convoluted. Totes worth it.
Awesome. All right, well, that is our show for this week, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and just want to give another last thank you to Mel Kirk for coming on and telling us all about the ins and outs of Pinball World and the Switch. If you like the show and you want to see us get more great guests and review more games, do more cool stuff, we have a Patreon. That is where you can go and support us. The website is patreon.com/theswitchcast, and you can pledge $1 a month, $2 a month, whatever you feel like to keep us going. There's a few different reward tiers if you decide to support us at certain levels, and we also update there with a few extras that only the backers get, occasional special shows, a few little extra behind-the-scenes insights, but mostly it's just there for you to say, hey, I think you guys are worth backing and helping you make the show even better.
Yes, exactly. We have a really bustling community. I definitely would implore you guys to join us on Discord. They're a very awesome, friendly folk, and we do not tolerate trolls, so it's a really great place. Same with the Facebook group. It's exactly the same. Everyone's really friendly, enthusiastic about the Switch, and not trolly. We also have a dedicated Twitter account. That's twitter.com/theswitchcast. Follow us for updates, musings, that type of stuff.
Yep, and all links to those things can be found in the show notes if you want a quick and easy way. Thank you to the HeatleyBros for the music, and until next time, everybody.
Switch it up.